Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
All right, welcome to Kentucky's Voice, Louisville's and Kentucky's only program that deals with news and politics from a conservative perspective. So basically your local conservative talk, news, commentary program that deals with things specifically in Kentucky. We focus more on Kentucky issues and things that really hit close to home. And so I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush. We have a special show today, Jim. Every day is a special show, but today's a little bit more special show than others because this is a show based around the holiday, which is today is Giving Tuesday. If you haven't heard of what that is, it's the day after Cyber Monday, which is after Black Friday. All these little,
which is after Thanksgiving,
which is after Thanksgiving, which is after Halloween. So it's all these retail holidays, but today is what they call Giving Tuesday. So it's where a lot of nonprofits and groups that are that rely on your generosity make a point to say, hey, we're here too, and if this is a giving season, we could certainly use your help as well. So we are Kentucky's Voice is a nonprofit. It is a nonprofit news organization, Jim. That's what we do. We're just, this.
That's right.
Right now we're still kind of at an incubator stage. We're not as large as, say, a local newsroom here in the city like WDRB or WLKY or the Lexington Herald Leader or whatever. Take your pick. All these established news organizations, they've been around for decades. They've had time to build up their client base, their viewer base, and their advertiser base. We're still new. We're still trying to kickstart this concept. And so we are relying primarily off of the generosity of our viewers and people that are interested in supporting what we're doing. And Jim, what are we doing here? What's the point of this? What are we doing
like you
here?
said, we're offering news and opinion and analysis of the news from a conservative, common sense, Christian-based, faith-based point of view. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and this is an opportunity to step up and help move this forward. And, we're in a time now when the legacy media, a lot is changing with the media. And this is a great opportunity. If you want to make sure you get news and opinion and analysis from a conservative point of view and covering issues and stories that sometimes the legacy media doesn't cover.
And specifically locally oriented issues.
That's right.
Because, there's a lot of conservative news out there with national news and that sort of thing. But no one's covering Kentucky politics. No one's covering what's going on in Louisville, like in Jefferson County school system, from a conservative perspective. You might have a few voices here or there, but we're doing it systematically and to where you can rely on us or somebody that will be here fighting the good fight on your behalf and informing you, because Jim, more than 90% of the battle is just informing the public and making sure the narrative of what's happening is actually lines up with the truth.
Right.
And so,
and that's true in our education system. We've done a lot on education here, but we've also had our local Metro Council members on during this time, Kentucky's Voice show, 11 to noon each weekday. Yep. And the legacy media is really quit covering a lot of local and state issues just because of resources. So we need to step up. This is an opportunity for us to not only fill that gap, but also to have a high-powered, effective news organization.
Exactly right.
And it's up to you to help us.
Exactly right. So this is basically a 2-hour special today. We're going to do a mix of appeals for fundraising, but also mix in some news and some things that are going on. Some pretty hot issues right now. One, there's a story just broke yesterday. I'm going to cover a little bit later about this H-1B1 scandal that's breaking out in Kentucky colleges here and the University of Cumberland in Campbellsville. So this is going to be very interesting if you're interested in the immigration issue. It looks like Kentucky's a hotbed for a lot of this fraud. So anyway, so listen, here's how to give. Text KY Voiced, which is 53555. Text KY Voice to the number is 53555. 53555. That's the number you text to. But text the words KY Voice, and that will tell you how to give and how to support us. And looking for one-time donations, monthly donations, whatever. It's just, listen, this is grassroots. We need your support. We'll be right back on Kentucky's Voice.
to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush, with Jim Waters. And so we're going to cover what we're about, which is a special local news project that is focused on news and commentary from a conservative perspective. And also Bob Scott's going to be with us the next. Is he with us now, by chance? Is he on the air now with us? Oh, he is. Okay. Good, great. Well, Bob, come on in, Bob. Let's hear Bob, and then also Andrew's going to be with us as well, right? Andrew Cooper-Ryder, Mr. Producer, is he next hour? Okay, next hour we'll have Andrew Cooper-Ryder. But yeah, Bob. So, Bob, what is you've been working with us on this project for quite a while. First of all, why is it important?
Since inception, yeah.
Yeah, why is this important? I mean, what is your elevator pitch for Kentucky's Voice? If somebody say, "Hey, what's this about? What are you doing?"
We're the only one in the state, Tom, that's doing what we're doing, and that's giving. You were talking a little bit earlier about conservative, and I like to throw in the word from a Christian perspective as well.
That's right.
News,
right.
and you can't find anywhere else. Is it any coincidence that you'll hear about usually online through some kind of hot conservative subject that's going on, but you won't see it anywhere in the local media, and that's what we're doing. We're filling those holes. We're plugging that gap and bringing conservative Christian news here for the state of Kentucky and really southern Indiana as well.
So, for example, Bob, what are some of the stories that you and I have covered that have really, I think, helped change the dynamic of that issue in this state? I mean, what are some of the things that we've covered that have really made a difference? And so, because our viewers responded and the legislators responded and et cetera. What are some?
It's and there's a lot of stuff that's still ongoing. But for example, Bill Wesley, who we've had on the show many times, he is a conservative Christian legislator from Eastern Kentucky. He's getting ready to introduce legislation in the upcoming General Assembly, and he does have a lot of support on this as well. That will address the concern, the very real concern of what's going on with communist China and other foreign entities that's buying up farmland and trying to eventually subvert our local different types of infrastructures, and so he's addressing it,
and you may think, well, that's an international issue, it's a national issue. No, it's a Kentucky issue because they're here in this state doing things, and they really are, and really that's where the best pushback on these issues typically originates from is locally, because
I think they hope we're not paying attention locally. I think
right.
They hope we're just paying attention to this as a big national or international issue and not something that we can do something about here.
That's right.
And that's
data
important.
Centers, Jim.
That's
data
right.
centers.
Yep.
We did a big story on that.
Yes.
And what happened in Oldham County.
In Oldham County, they had to make some changes there because of that. And that's something we need to watch, and that's why having a local news focus can allow us to pay attention. People are busy. You all are listeners, viewers are busy with your everyday lives. You need somebody paying attention to these things.
Exactly right.
And we are.
And you might say that, Bob and Jim, that, hey, well, I've got local news. I've got, Fox 41. I've got WAVE, WHAS, 84 WHA, all these corporate legacy local news operations. But the challenge is they are corporate and they are, they're kind of beholden to their sort of coastal elites that have a certain worldview, and they kind of encourage a certain either left of center or maybe center left sort of position in general. And you're not going to hear a conservative Christian perspective, like Bob said.
And a lot
41.
of times it's about what doesn't get covered or
That's
what
right.
doesn't get
exactly right.
paid attention to. There's a lot going on in the Christian community, in the faith-based community. Kentucky is a Bible Belt state, and I'm surprised there's not more coverage even in the corporate media of church work here. We've got the Southern Baptist as a big presence here. We've got other groups that are here. And so this just gives us an outlet, a way to do that. We're not beholden to, as you said, the coastal elites, someone in New York telling someone in Louisville what they can cover and what they can't cover and what resources they have. And we're really only limited by our resources. We can do a whole lot more here with more resources.
That's exactly
that's
right.
all. That's our only limitation.
That's the only limitation. Yeah, and every dollar that you provide goes directly to producing this content. It doesn't go to anywhere else but other than producing this content. And so, we're encouraged. So if you're listening today, you're just tuning in. We're doing a special Giving Tuesday edition of Kentucky's Voice. Kentucky's Voice, as you know, is a local conservative news operation, and it's nonprofit and it's listener supported and viewer supported. And so we encourage you to help us today and help us actually ongoing. We're looking for monthly partners. If you can give $35 a month or $55 a month or $100 a month. I mean, so there's people out there listening to this that are conservative, that are Christian, that are people that have a real burden for this country and for your fellow citizens in Kentucky and Louisville, and you know that there's a fight that's ongoing. It's a real existential fight for the future of this country. This isn't just a fun little project that Jim and Bob and I spun up. We worked with in media, and of course I work here at the TV and radio station. So listen, we have these stations here. There's a real existential fight for this country that's going on politically, spiritually, and we've got a responsibility as people in the media to stand up and reflect some godly values, conservative values. And so that's why we're doing this. This isn't a money play. This is we're not making we're not making any money on this. Honestly, we're just happy to cover the bills on this. But we really are committed to this.
But I will say, if you're a business owner, you're looking for an opportunity to reach a conservative audience.
Exactly.
Give me a call.
It does work. Yeah, exactly.
Let me
right.
know.
Yeah, advertising with us does work. And so
because I'm working on that side of it too, and I can help you marry whatever you need to accomplish with the best plan.
Yeah.
And this is a great opportunity to help a nonprofit, but also to make sure. And you say, well, what do I get out of this? Well, every day, at 11 o'clock every day live on 970 WGTK across the social media platforms, you're going to get coverage, news coverage and analysis from a conservative Christian common sense point of view. And then you can watch it on television in the afternoon, 12:30, 4 and 8. So, but every day you say, what do I get? It's going to be there.
That's right.
It's going to be there.
Yeah, and know that you're making a difference.
Right.
And Bob, we've had this conversation before about the project. A lot of folks that listen or watch us would give to a campaign. They would give to say Donald Trump or give to I don't know, Rand Paul or Thomas Massey, whoever your favorite local candidate is. And I make the argument, and I think we all agree here, that that's fine. Go ahead and do that. But why don't you take a percentage of that and designate it to us? And the reason being is that we can do more for every candidate. Because in a sense, we provide air cover for every conservative candidate that's running because we can cover their issues. We help promote their agenda, and we get them on the show. We interview them. We vet them. And so I think we can be, I think dollar for dollar, we're more effective in helping move the agenda, the MAGA agenda, the conservative agenda, whatever you want to call it, because we kind of have a Big Ten here. We have a lot of people that are real hard MAGA, got some more establishment types. We're just conservative in general, right? But we kind of lean more MAGA. That's, hence my hat, So, I want to be honest, we're kind of more MAGA than anything. But that's where the party's going. So, but anyway, so we can help every candidate, the entire movement, probably better than giving to a specific campaign because we can help all campaigns at once. And so Bob, the producer said I'm not letting you talk enough. So Bob, take over.
No, I'm sitting here shaking my head, Tom, positively because everything you're saying is the truth. And I think back to when we first started this. It's hard to believe it's been now over a year, well over a year since we spun this up. And I know we talked about it. It seems like forever, but this truly is as organic as you're going to get. I mean, it's homespun. Put what kind of phraseology on this that you want to, but Kentucky's Voice, folks, is about you. Pure and simple. And we are here on the front lines fighting to make certain that your voice is heard, and that's the reason, again, we've had national, statewide leaders and local leaders that's been on this program to help get that conservative message out. So you are needed. Your voice is needed, and how you can help is by plowing some money into this project. And it's very easily done. All you have to do is text give KY voice 53555. Again, that's text to give at KY voice 53555. And if you just want to join in on the conversation, we always are welcome to that. You can text us at 502-571-0970, 502-571-0970. Your voice is important.
Well said. Great. Well, Bob, appreciate it. Like we said earlier, this program provides air cover for every candidate. So if you give to campaigns, if you give to causes, conservative causes, make us part of that pie, part of your giving pie there. So we'll be right back on Kentucky's Voice on Giving Tuesday.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush, and they said to take the hat off because you can't see my eyes, so now you can see my eyes. There we go. We'll go back to the hat probably in a minute. So there we go. So anyway,
I think it's great.
I like that. I like that. It kind of, hides the hairline.
Fine. We can see you fine. This is good. This is good.
Okay, we'll stick with this.
This is good. Yeah.
Okay, well, you're tuning into the special edition of Kentucky's Voice. One reason it's special is because we have all three of us on the show together. We rarely have all three of us on the show.
When we do, it's special.
It's very special. And
normally, folks, by the way, I do this time on Tuesdays.
That's right.
But it's great to have everybody.
It really is, yeah. And I think Bob and I, we do it on Thursdays and Fridays.
Right,
and we have Andrew Cooper Ryder on Monday. And then
Lance on Monday.
Oh, Lance on Monday.
Dr. Lance Pearson, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Lance Pearson on Monday, and then Wednesday is Andrew.
Yeah.
We're going to have Andrew Cooper Ryder on in the next hour as well.
Right.
So anyway, so special program today. We're doing some fundraising for Kentucky's Voice. This is Giving Tuesday around the country. It's a lot of nonprofit groups are making a point today to hey, take some of your holiday generosity and direct it towards their effort or their cause. And so our cause is Kentucky's Voice, and we feel like it's a noble cause, and it's doing some great work, and it's making a difference in a lot of ways. And so, Jim, what are some issues that we've covered, that you've covered, that you feel like we've helped move the needle on?
Well, of course, the immigration issue.
Yes,
this is huge in Kentucky as it is everywhere.
Yeah,
we've talked about how much at the local and state level. This is, I've talked to the council members here on the air about this issue, and education. We're spending more than we ever have on public education, and it's a bigger failure than it's ever been.
That's right.
And Andrew Cooper Ryder as well has been on this quite a bit, and I've got a new column on our Substack they'll be coming out about the superintendent in Lexington, Demetrius Liggins, who it's time for him to go. We're going to make that case. And so we have the ability to
drill into those issues,
push, and the more resources we have, the more support we have, the more we can do that. And when a conservative issue, maybe today there isn't anything you care about, but there might be 2 months down the road, and you're going to want us to be here. So I think that's also an important point to make.
Exactly right. Yeah, we're fortunate to have you involved with this, because you are one of the state's experts on education and on education reform and what needs to happen. You've been one of the strongest voices for school choice in this state, and so if those that don't know, Jim Waters was part of the Bluegrass Institute for more than a couple of decades, I would think. Right?
Help start that, we're helping with this.
That's right. Help start
exciting,
that, and that's a think tank here in the state that deals with a lot of conservative causes, and so he's now with us full time, and so we're really privileged to have you. And of course, we have folks like Andrew Cooper Ryder as well, who's doing a great work with his media efforts.
And Tom, it's not just education, but if you take our state budget, you say, why do we talk so much about that? The biggest part of our state budget, by far, the largest portion, is K through 12 education. There isn't anything close to that. I mean, you talk about Medicare, Medicaid, these issues, there's a lot of money spent on those.
Right.
And I wrote a column, by the way, about Obamacare, how it's rotten at the core. You might check that out on our Substack last week.
All right.
And so we've talked on here, we've had the local council members on about the AI data centers, about where we're headed as a city with crime. And with this new mayor who's actually working with Republicans on the council. And one of the reasons is because the council is close to really becoming a Republican majority council, which a lot of people never thought could have happened. But we see South Louisville in particular becoming more conservative, and we see this changing. So we have an opportunity here as the Kentucky's Voice, as the media voice here, to help push those things in the right direction, to help push what's happening here, and increase prosperity, increase opportunities for our citizens, just a whole lot of opportunities. Deal with our crime issue. We've still got a lot of issues on that. When COVID hit, our downtown was decimated here, and now we're rebuilding it. And there's a lot of issues that we talk about. So it's not just education, but I just mentioned that today because this next legislative session is a budget session. And so they're going to be determining how dollars get spent. There's a real push to spend even more dollars on public education. But our point is, until we see change, improvement, increase in our kids and their ability to learn and be prepared for the future, we shouldn't be spending a whole lot more dollars on that.
There we go.
So that's just one of the issues.
Exactly right. Yeah. And so the expertise we're bringing to these issues, like this conversation we just had here, is so important, and you're not hearing that anywhere else on a daily basis in the state. And so, and you, to your point, we cover a lot of Louisville issues because we're based in Louisville, but this is a statewide project.
Our plan is to really do this statewide.
That's right, and it is statewide on the internet. I mean, if you're in Hopkinsville Gainesville, you can go to our Facebook or YouTube and watch these programs.
Right.
But
and you can listen live at 11 o'clock.
That's right. Exactly right. You can stream it live on whatever platform. But when it comes to just our broadcast feed, it's based in the local market. We have 970 AM that you're listening to now, and also WBNA, Channel 21. Those are two broadcast outlets. We're going to expand our broadcast outlets here very soon. We have some other stations we're talking to. And so this is going to be a statewide news organization. Just picture Fox News or Daily Wire or one of those, or just conservative media outlets, but for Kentucky. But for Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
And so and covers issues like we just discussed. Bob, bring you back in. How can people help? And what are we looking for? We're looking for and let me say this: the text I think is just KY Voice, not Give KY Voice. I think you said text Give KY. I think it's just KY Voice. So if you're wanting to give, you can, and we encourage you to do so. The number you text is 53555 53555, and text the words or the letters KY Voice, KY Voice, and so like Kentucky KY and then Voice. And then to 53555, 53555. We're asking for monthly support, $35 a month. There's somebody out there that can do that. Somebody out there can do $55 a month. Somebody can do $100 a month. And Bob, I think you're giving, you're giving much more than that. You're giving your whole life essence to this project, right? Is that Bob? Bob. Oh, there we go.
Financially would be absolutely fantastic. We do need your help. Another story it's absolutely raging right now, and you're not hearing a lot about it in the traditional news media, but State Auditor Allison Ball just covered, through a very, I just say, scintillating report of $800 million of waste in Medicaid here in the state. $800 million. That's absolutely insane. Almost $1 billion, that she has uncovered. And this is a story. This is just one of many stories that Kentucky's Voice, your voice, is going to be delving into. And we have talked about it, but we're going to be taking even a deeper dive. And again, that's why we need your help. We don't do these as today's Giving Tuesday. A lot of organizations around the country are asking you to step to the plate and help them out. We're doing that too. We need you, pure and simple. We are a faith-based operation here. And again, we've been on the air now a little bit over a year, and we're growing. I mean, we started out on radio only. We're now doing a broadcast, simulcast, if you will, as well to WBNA Channel 21. So we are growing, and there's a lot of people. We're now basically, as they like to say, gaining steam, but we need you. We need you to help that engine, to fire that engine, to get us from point A to point B.
Yeah, Bob,
and that's the only way we're going to do it is we're going to need your help.
We have a few seconds left here, but where is that fraud going? Is it illegals? Are illegal aliens getting this Medicaid fraud, or what's the cause of this $800 million in fraud?
That's one of the things that's still being delved into. Okay. Exactly. I think it's a conglomeration of things, Tom, to be honest with you.
Okay. Wow. Well, we're going to unpack that. That's going to be good. That's a story we're going to cover and stay on. And so like you said, we're fundraising today for Kentucky's Voice. We need your help. You see what we're about. If you're just tuning in, it's Giving Tuesday, and we need your support for Kentucky's Voice. It's a nonprofit conservative news organization that focuses on Kentucky politics and Kentucky news, and basically it's your hometown news, right? This impacts local news, impacts you much more than national news. So you need to know what's going on. We'll be back.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush, and we have a special guest today, and two guests today that are special. Those are great friends of mine, and they're the primary host and co-host of this project, Jim Waters and Bob Scott. Gentlemen, both you guys are heroes to me and also to many of our listeners and viewers. And we just mentioned a lot of the issues that we cover. Immigration is one of those issues. It's impacting everyone. And I think if there's just one issue that we could fix right now in this country that could solve so many problems at once, it would be the immigration issue. And everything from crime to infrastructure to inflation to housing to jobs to
spending,
government spending,
yeah.
You name it, it hits so many areas, and so and I wanted to touch on a story that's it's kind of breaking. If you go to the Revolver website, it's kind of a conservative news website. They have a story about two Kentucky universities. They have a special program for that is a well, I guess let me summarize it this way. It's a program that encourages people basically Indians primarily, or foreign workers, to come here and go to their college. Technically, go to their college, but they're not really going to the college. They're just enrolling in the college, and that then gives them special status so they can work at a company. And so what's happening is a lot of these companies that want to bring in H-1B1 workers from India, they're going to these colleges, two of them in Kentucky. I'll mention who they are in a minute. And they're saying, hey, can we enroll these guys in your program? Great. Then I can hire them under HB1, and I can get a real cheap, worker from India. And that's happening. It used to happen a whole lot with where the Indian HB1 visa holders would basically fake the university. They would go in and just put a fake university down and then apply for H1B1 status, and then the government kind of caught on to that. So now they're like, okay, well, now we need to find a real university to do this with, and so it looks like the University of Cumberland and Campbellsville University, these two Baptist universities, two universities I'm very fond of because they're generally pretty conservative colleges, but they have some programs that looks like they're being taken advantage of, and so there's an article here that discusses that, and let me play this video, Mr. Producer, if we can. This is an Indian business owner.
Who's the camera person?
Hi there.
I think you have several.
Okay.
Paula. This is at Cumberland University. Center at Cumberland College, and now what you're going to see here in a minute is, okay, this is their graduation ceremony for 2025. Look at all the names of the people that have graduated from their programs, and look at where they're from. They're all from India, every one of them. And the accusation is that these folks, there's one from Virginia Beach, but he had an Indian name. Yeah. So, and look at this, it just goes on forever and ever. And so the accusation is that this is just a program for these people to come in and get to work, and they're really not even attending the college necessarily. They might be on some level, or are they getting credit for working, but it's just a way for maybe the college just to take advantage of our immigration system in a sense and make some money off this. And anyway, it's a pretty interesting accusation, and I think it's probably true, and from what I can read here. And I even tried to reach out to one of the universities yesterday to see if I can get a comment, and no one answered. But
this has been an issue at other universities here too. But and I know Western, for example, I knew a professor there that was very concerned about all the Chinese students that were coming in, but he said they paid, and they pay the out-of-state rate. So the school it will look the other way, maybe, on things, or will certainly be tempted to, because of these cash-starved colleges.
Colleges, right? Yeah, and let's face it, colleges are starting to hit a real cash crunch because there's less kids. There's less Gen Zs than there were. During the millennial generation, when they were in college, it was the biggest generation we've had since the boomers. Actually, bigger than the boomers, right? So colleges just exploded. I mean, they had all these kids and of course, that's back when everybody believed that you have to go to college. You have to go to college. It's the only way to be successful is to go to college, and that's waning now. That mindset is waning, and plus, there's now half the number of kids in that age cohort with Gen Z and Gen Y. And so these colleges are like, well, what just happened? So we got to figure something out. Okay, well, maybe we can work this system with the Indian workers, and they can get a job, and we can get some money, and there we go. We can keep our doors open. I kind of get the Chinese. I kind of get the temptation, but
all the names there, that's amazing. I hadn't seen.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And so here's a quote from the article. And so it says, we're being hollowed out by people who know exactly how weak and exploitable our system has become. It's been this way for years. The political class makes money. The middlemen get rich. Foreign workers get the green light. Americans get squeezed out of their own job market while being told it's good for the economy. And if you want to understand how deeply this scam goes, just look at the numbers coming out of Kentucky. While the rest of America saw Indian student enrollment drop off a cliff, Kentucky magically became the hottest destination in the country. There was a 70% spike in one state, driven almost entirely by these two private universities that no one have ever heard of prior to this thing. So Cumberland and Campbellsville, it looks like they're getting targeted in this investigation, and it's pretty interesting, and it's just a loophole in the system. Yeah. You can get an H1B1 visa very easily if you are a student, and so they just come in and go, okay, we need a worker. Okay, well, listen, roll him over at Campbellsville. He shows up maybe once a semester, and our company will pay a little tuition to the university or something, and then he can work for us under this, and then we can. So that's one less American job available for an American, and so
and you couple that with, as you said, the reduction in decline in college being recognized as the only way to be successful. And
that's right.
We've got, with technology, you don't have to go to college in many professions.
You really don't.
That's the truth.
You really don't.
Now, I know some old school folks don't like that, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
You can in fact, in some professions, if you want to become a welder, you don't need to go 4 years to school. You're going to waste your money doing that.
That's right.
You can go to a trade school and be ready in 6 months.
Yeah, I think
that's affecting you.
You're absolutely right. I think we're going through an education revolution, and Bob will bring Bob in on this. I think Bob, with the way the world is now, I mean, think about it. When you had classrooms, when we invented the classroom, the concept of a classroom, that's before we had any sort of audio amplification, before we had any video, before we had any internet. And so the only way to kind of mass communicate ideas and concepts is to get everybody in the same room and put a chalkboard up, and then talk to a small group of people and say, we're going to learn this today, folks. Let's all learn this together. We don't need to do that anymore. We've got the internet. We've got video.
Well, some people don't even. That's not even the best way for them.
That's right. Exactly right.
Some people are visual learners. Some
that's right.
are hands-on learners. If they're not doing something with their hands, they're not learning. So
yeah, I
mean, and we see kids, getting a welding degree after 6 months at a technical school, or a year maybe, and their homes are paid for. They've got $40,000 trucks in their driveway, and I mean they're 20-something.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the trades are where it's at right now. If you're a young person, that friends that are in their mid-20s that are making $100,000 a year as an electrician, and yet all your other friends that are in college are in debt, living in their parents' basement still, with a lesbian dance degree or something, that doesn't give them anything, meaningless degree, and so it's. So
and they'll be paying on that for
years, for the lifetime. Yeah. Exactly right.
Yeah, and I want to add in something, just back up just a little bit. You were talking about the Chinese students coming in. Obviously, Trump through this program is wanting to let in 600,000 Chinese, who are, by the way, required by Chinese law to be spies.
Just be spies, report back.
Basically, when they come, it's saying report back. Well, it's fine. That they're doing and keeping tabs. I think primarily on other Chinese folks or students that are here,
That's
but also and it's already been shown through it's bad when 60 Minutes is even reporting stories about this, about them trying to attack our infrastructure or going after other entities, in the United States, and we basically are in a quiet war, a Cold War, like we were with Russia in the 60s. and 70s. It's now China.
Yeah.
So these are one of the things, again, we've got to keep our eyes and ears open to, and that's what Kentucky's Voice does. This is a day of giving. This is a day that we need your support. We're asking for your support. We're pleading for your support. And you can do so by texting to KY Voice. Again, KY Voice 53555. Again, KY Voice 53555. And you can make a difference. We really do need you to step to the plate. Kentucky's Voice. And we are now really starting to gain some traction and momentum. We're picking up a lot of subscribers and followers on social media, and that's really where it's at now, folks. And our message is getting out, but we need your help. We need your help to get to the critical facts and folks that need to hear it, and it's only going to be by your help.
Yeah, and let me add to this, Bob. Fine, we do need your help. Yeah, that's exactly right. But I want to reframe it in this way. Actually, it's the conservative, it's the citizen that is concerned about the direction of his country. We're here for you. We're not. Hey, just help us out and so we can do this little project. I'm trying to frame this in a way that doesn't sound wrong.
You wouldn't hear this story. There are stories here we're talking about you won't hear anywhere else.
Exactly right.
And they won't get the attention needed.
That's
and
right.
It's interesting how when everybody starts paying attention to Medicaid fraud, things change.
Yeah.
There's less fraud.
Exactly right.
There's more accountability.
That's right.
And that's one of the main reasons we're doing
exactly
this.
right. And so, in other words, we all need this. It's not just we need you. We all need this.
Right.
And so we need you to stand up and help us to support what's necessary. We got to change the narrative, and this is the way we do it. Okay, we'll be right back with Kentucky's Voice with another segment. We'll continue talking about this scandal here in Kentucky with the HB1's scandal. So we'll be right back.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KY Voice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's Voice.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to the show. And we have another special guest with us today. And of course, we already had Bob and Jim on with us, but now we have Andrew Cooperrider, the one and only Andrew Cooperrider, someone who has a great voice for things, all common sense in this state. And we're really glad to be working with Andrew. So Andrew, we were talking about this emerging story coming out of the University of Cumberland's and Campbellsville University as well, but I think seems to be focused more on the University of Cumberland's, but of this H-1B1 or H-1B visa scam that's happening. And so I'll read this text here. This video leak from the University of Cumberland's exposes how an Indian businessman, Anil Apalya, has taken control of a rural Kentucky-based university and turned it into a foreign workers trafficking ring, issuing unethical day one CPT work permits as a backdoor to the H-1B1 visa. And the thought there is that the way it works is, hey, I've got this company. I want to bring in all my Indian coworkers because they cost less than Americans. And so how do I get them over here? Well, I can't get an HB1B visa very easily. So, hey, there's a waiver where I can, if they're students, then we can bring them in and they can work as a student, right? So they come in and they enroll in the university, pay a little tuition, and never show up to class, and maybe they get a type of education where it's where you work to get educated, or in other words, you get credit for working, right? So all you got to do is show up and work for this company, and you get a degree for free, and the university makes some money, and it's just kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod. Just we'll take care of everybody. The university wins, and we get to traffic foreign workers and take American jobs. And so, Andrew, is that what it looks like to you, or?
Yeah, Tom. I mean, let's put some numbers on this here real quick. Okay, so the University of Cumberland's has 14,500 grad students. Out of that, 70-80% are Indian on F1 visas. That's 10,000 to 11,000 of their 14,500 graduate students are F1 visa holders from India. To put that in perspective, the average U.S. university has about 430 Indian grad students. Cumberland's grad program has 2,500 times the average number. And to give you some idea of how large that is too. So that's more Indian graduate students than Harvard, Stanford, and NYU have in their entire graduate programs combined.
Well, yeah.
At this one private little Kentucky university. And so the way this grad program works, so it's 100% online. They only have to fly in 1 weekend per semester, but day one, the minute you enroll and you're granted this, you enroll with that and on a student visa, you can now qualify for full-time U.S. work authorization from day one. So you have to think if tuition here, let's say it's even $15,000 a year to the employer, they're saying, look, I'm going to hire an H-1B worker. I'm going to pay him half, but I'll pay an American worker. Right. So most
I'll pay the tuition. I'll pay his tuition. Yeah.
So I'll pay the tuition.
Yeah, that's right.
If I had to pay an American worker $150,000 and I can get away with paying this H-1B worker $70,000, and I only got to pay a $10,000 kicker for tuition or $1,500 or $15,000. Yeah, it's worth it to me. I'll do it. Yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah, and I kind of feel, here, I understand it. Universities are under a lot of pressure right now. There's less kids going to college, especially these smaller schools. There are schools in this area that have closed. So, like there's a school out in just south of Louisville that St. Catherine's College, it closed a few years, and there's some other. All these, you're going to start seeing, over the next decade, school after school of closing because there's just not enough kids going to school, and it's just the whole college scam is ending. So I get it. So the University of Cumberland figured, hey, we figured something out. We got a business model. We can.
Well, I wonder too, how much is sort of like I'm worried about lawsuit. Like an example of this would be, so there's this loophole in hiring and everything else where if you hire people 1099 versus W-2 just because the nature of your work, there isn't really like a way to check immigration there. And I know a lot of employers that are frankly terrified to if they think somebody might be here illegally, there's no way for them to check. And if they do ask, well, are they going to be sued for racism?
Right.
And so you wonder if some of that's going on within the university where they're like, look, can we even, if everything checks out, are we allowed to just say, we have too many Indians, we're going to deny
That's right. Can we even turn them down? I mean, so what if the Indian, maybe the entire Indian community in the United States the word's getting out that you go to Cumberland or go to Campbellsville, and suddenly 10,000 students show up, which is what's happening. Or is the university even allowed to just say, "Oh, we can't do this"?
Well, it's a little bit different than a standard online because you do have to be there 1 weekend a semester.
Okay.
So maybe it's something where
1 weekend. That's great.
Well, yeah. So maybe it's something where to get rid of the program. I mean, there are people enrolled in the program that aren't Indian, and they're like, well, it's a good online program for local people that don't have to come into school every day.
Yeah.
Only 1 day a semester, 1 weekend a semester. But still, it's. I think that's why it can qualify for this visa program versus something like, some other online school won't qualify because they don't have a physical campus you have to visit once a year.
There's a student,
once a semester.
There's a student here. I'll put up this tweet here, Mr. Producer. But this student who's a former student at the University of Cumberland, and said, and he's trying to explain. I can't get this. There we go. Sheds light on the complicity of the Indian visa scam. The student signed up for online classes and noticed that every other person in his class was Indian. A sharp difference from the other colleges and study programs he was in. He did some research and discovered that at the University of Cumberland's offered work while you study programs as a form of practical training. The Indian students in this individual's online classes were not real students. They were enrolled solely so they could retain their visas while working jobs. They likely plagiarized all their college coursework using essay mills or AI too. The student believes that the DHS and USCIS knew of these phony Indian students but did nothing. He demands action. No more Indian scammers in our workplace or universities. If this is really happening, if this is a scam and it's really happening, we need to shut it down because it's not just, look at this little scam that's going on. It's taking jobs from Americans. That's what this whole H-1B1 problem is in this country. These are good jobs. These are high-paying jobs that could go to Americans, but companies know they can outsource that by importing Indians, Chinese, like Bob was talking, just people that are just not Americans, and then hiring them and saving money, and
there's already, when people want to argue back about things like the agricultural sector, those are H-1A workers, but essentially, they're seasonal workers that you bring in. And there's minimum of payment you have to issue. You have to provide health insurance. You have to provide all these things to the point where, it's costing a landscape company, if they're bringing in H-1A workers, $20 to $22 an hour.
Right.
And they're saying, look, if I can't just hire an American at $20 an hour, that can fulfill the role, and I'm not able to find enough. Okay, I can see that argument because at least in that case, what you're saying is look, $20 an hour is a fair amount to pay, and you are artificially rising the cost of doing it to the point where American workers can compete. But in these types of situations with the H-1B stuff, we already are competing with sending the jobs overseas to begin with.
Right.
A lot of these tech sectors and everything else. And now we're dealing with the few jobs that remain stateside in these industries are being farmed out here.
Yeah. Bob, what are your thoughts on this?
No, he's right on the money. It is a major concern, and especially with the explosion of AI, which is already starting to take away jobs. It's absolutely critical that we as a nation and we as a people, here in Kentucky, because it's hit home now. This is actually going on. Hard to believe. My wife went to Cumberland, and
I have friends that went there. Yeah, good Baptist school. It's a
and
good Baptist school, and I wish them well. But if they're taking advantage of this system and trafficking, and
but let me ask this though. I mean, how are they taking jobs? And when you talk about them taking jobs, is this because our education system hasn't prepared our kids as well for these jobs, I guess, and they're better at competing?
Good question. I guess the answer would be, these companies can pay less for these workers. for that, and they would have to pay more for an equally qualified American worker, and so it's undercutting the job market. And so
the jobs in particular are certainly tech. And one thing I want to point out too, I know we're on Giving Tuesday, and we're sitting here having this conversation, taking an in-depth dive. I don't really see any other news even talking about this. Like, I posted on my social media today, and a lot of people are just shocked by this information. Right. And it's the kind of thing I don't expect our legacy media to cover it at all.
Or even our local media, Andrew, or even our local media.
Or local media or anything. And this is a very uniquely local story that needs to be called out. And yet they're not grabbing a hold of it, and I think that is why what we're doing here is so important. So I'll make the call for you guys to give as well. I haven't asked you guys yet, so make sure you text into 53555. Text KY Voice to 53555. Give today, give right now, give deeply. It's Giving Tuesday. But to your question, so basically it's like this. So you go to college here in America, you rack up a massive amount of debt getting your bachelor's degree for some business job here in America, because H-1B is uniquely business type positions, and it ends up being you end up into a income bracket where you got to make between $80,000 to $120,000, if not more, per year. The other thing you have to realize here is that a lot of with the moving of tech jobs, especially over to India, because frankly, you can get programmers there programming for $3-4 an hour over in India doing that work for you that would otherwise cost you tens of thousands of dollars here in America to get the same work. Well, you need people that speak that native language as well, but can also interact then with these customers. And so there is a real opening in the market, I guess you could say, for needing people to come in that can speak both Indian and somewhat English to kind of be the interface. And so there's demand there, and they can't find enough. And so they're going to be importing them. The Americans that do the jobs, they want to be paid $80,000 to $120K a year. Or you can have somebody who's used to making $5 an hour programming, and then you offer them $70,000 a year, half of what you'd have to pay an American. And to them, they're like, yeah, sure, I'll take that and live in a house with 20 other people because it's better than the life I'm living now.
Right. One thing about it, you wouldn't even know about this if it wasn't for Kentucky's Voice talking about it
That's
today.
right. That's right.
So help us continue to do this. KY Voice, text KY Voice to 53555. And come on, let's have some folks who will give us $100 a month here to keep doing this.
Let's do it. Yeah, monthly givers, 35, 55, 100. Those are the numbers we're suggesting. Or just a one-time gift. We don't, we'd support, we would love to have a one-time gift. So the number is 53555. Text the word KY Voice to give.
With Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
All right, welcome to Kentucky's Voice. This is a special second hour of the program. We're in a special moment today because today is Giving Tuesday, right? So this is a nationwide holiday for nonprofits to let people know that in this time of holiday festivities and giving and sharing that, hey, we're here as well, and we could certainly use your generosity. And so we're asking for support from you to help support Kentucky's Voice. And you say, well, what is Kentucky's Voice? Is this a TV show? What is this, a radio show? What? It is, but it's also a news organization that we're trying to spin up here, and that we have spun up here in Kentucky, that focuses on news and politics from a Christian conservative perspective. And we feel like it's very much needed. So picture in a way something like The Blaze or Daily Wire or Fox News, but for Kentucky, but for the state of Kentucky, and also Louisville as well. We're based out of Louisville, so we cover a lot of Louisville politics, and we need your support. And so we're asking for support today, for you to give, and it's very easy to do that. You can text to us to start that process, and so get your phone out and type in the numbers 53555. So 53555. That's the phone number that you would text to, right? 53555. And then you type in the word words, I guess it's two words, KY, the word KY, which stands for Kentucky, and then voice. So KY voice. That's 53555. 53555 is the number you send that to. Text the words KY Voice, and what happens is a link comes back to you, and then that can start the process of accepting a generous donation from you. And so we're either looking for one-time donations or we're looking for monthly givers. Listen, folks. There are people that give to lots of causes, lots of political causes, conservative causes, campaigns. Make us one of those. And actually, I think we can have more of an impact on your life, because local issues, local politics, that impacts your life way more than what goes on in Washington or what goes on in Brussels or wherever, because I'm interested in all these things overseas and nationally, but local politics is what it's the bread and butter. And so we can help change the narrative on all these issues that impact your life, and do it very efficiently and better than anyone can. So we encourage you to reach out and support us. And I'm going to introduce my guest today. We've got all the stars of Kentucky's Voice on with us today. We have Jim Waters, and we have Bob Scott, and Andrew Cooper-Ryder. And so we have a four-way panel.
Dr. Pearson isn't with us today.
Dr. Pearson's not with us today.
We appreciate his contribution.
He said stars, okay?
Stars.
Just kidding.
Absolutely. Hey, you're rising stars. Rising stars. We'll say that. But
your point about what happens here affects us more. What happens closest to you affects, what local government affects you, what they do affects you a lot more than what's happening elsewhere. And yet most of the news coverage you get is from elsewhere.
National, right?
So
yeah.
It's out of kilter there. But
That's
we're going to help resolve this situation.
And of course, Andrew, you've been doing this sort of work for a while, and you know this, that local politics and local issues go under the radar because of that, because there's just nobody paying attention to it. But this stuff is really important, Yeah.
I think most of what people don't realize is that, the federal government in large part is just a source of money. They don't actually effectuate the policy or exactly how the dollars and cents are spent. They essentially act as a middleman of taking our dollars and then handing them out to who they think
back
it should
to the
go
state.
to. And a lot of time that's state and local governments.
That's right.
And so if you want to find waste, even at the federal level, you got to be looking at what your state and local governments are doing.
Exactly right. Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
And so, also we have Bob Scott with us as well. Bob, this is...
Yeah, in fact, I know we're about out of time on this segment, and I do want to get into, we had an excellent text that came in. In fact, JCPS wants to eliminate Zachary Taylor Grade School at the corner of Hurstbourne and Westport Road. That's prime real estate. Who are the developers involved with the sale of JCPS properties? We're getting into a deeper discussion on this that pertains to everybody.
Let's talk JCPS
on the next segment.
Next segment, we'll talk JCPS and also all things education in this state. That's one of the issues we really cover well on this program. And so that impacts everyone, because everybody's taxes goes to education, whether you have a kid or not. So we'll be right back on Kentucky's Voice. It's Giving Tuesday.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. On with us today. It's Jim, Bob, and Andrew and Tom today. It's the quadruple. I don't know, some sort of pun off quadruple.
And we appreciate Dr. Pearson, by the way.
And Dr.
Who does
exactly
Mondays
right.
for us.
Yeah, Lance is awesome, and so we appreciate him as well. So anyway, this is a special program today. We're talking about Giving Tuesday. We're fundraising today for Kentucky's Voice. This is a nonprofit, listener-supported, viewer-supported project. It's a conservative news organization that focuses on Kentucky-oriented commentary, news, politics from a Christian conservative perspective. And we have some of the best voices in this state that are coalescing around this project, such as Jim and Bob and of course Andrew and Dr. Lance. And we have others as well. We bring in lots of guests. All the major politicians have been on this program. It's just been a really great project and fun project show to listen to. And we cover some issues that are very that really hit home, that really hit everybody in their pocketbooks and also in their heart. And one of those is education, because whether you have kids or not, your tax dollars go to fund this education system we have in the state, and there's a lot of problems with our education system, as you know, and there's some issues with JCPS, and we want to segue to that. First of all, before we do that, here's how to give. Text the word KY Voice, so KY Voice, letter K and then Y and then Voice, to the number 53555. So that's the phone number, 53555, that you would text to, 53555. And then text the word KY Voice, and we're asking for a monthly donation of $35 a month or $55 a month. Somebody can do $100 a month. If you really want to just change the narrative in the state and change things for the future of this Commonwealth, this is how to do it. And so,
or a one-time gift.
Or a one-time gift as well.
It,
yeah. So let's talk about the issue, JCPS. And Andrew, I haven't gotten that email yet, so I'm still trying to pull that up. But yeah, so JCPS.
Well, they're claiming to be $188 million in the hole.
Oh, gosh.
Now, remember, this is a school district that has a budget of almost $2.5 billion a year. And they're claiming to be $188 million in the hole.
How?
And so now they're having to make tough decisions about how to make up whatever that deficit is. Now, we got the text as Bob mentioned, the JCPS wants to eliminate Zachary Taylor Grade School at the corner of Hurstbourne and Westport Road. That's Prime Real Estate, who are the developers involved with the sale of JCPS properties. Yeah. So now you have this question of, because they've already announced, and Dr. Yearwood, the new superintendent, who was chosen over a finalist who was much more popular with the teachers union, by the way, interesting. Okay. But the board chose him.
Oh, but Jim, he was a younger white guy. He was never going to get chosen. When they announced the finalist and it was a young white guy.
It was a DEI hiring.
Yearwood, it was which is an immigrant from Africa, right. I assume. And we knew who they were going with. Plus, I don't even know why they pretended.
Yeah. Plus, Andrew, this guy,
Preach it, brother.
Apparently where he was at before was run out of town and given a huge severance pay. There wasn't any accountability here. So the point is, these issues don't, and it's just like the Medicaid fraud issue. It's like what's happening with the University of Cumberland's. It's amazing what happens and what changes when politicians and when bureaucrats know they're being watched.
That's right.
And know that there's going to be accountability.
And Jim, Andrew said it earlier, there's no accountability, or there has not been.
So with this deficit, Bob, so this makes sense, right? Now they're going to look at, they've already said we're going to have to close some schools, which they've had a declining population. So there is an argument to be made there. If you have a declining student population, you wouldn't need as many schools, right? That's common sense. But it's the schools they're going to choose to close, like this Zachary Taylor, on prime real estate in the East End, when we know there are lots of failing schools downtown in the West End and other areas. So now it becomes, how are they making this decision?
They're not going to close a racial minority majority school. They know how that would look. I mean, if you go back and
why don't they improve them? That's what I want to know. Why don't they improve the education kids in those schools are getting offered? That's what
teachers union.
But if you go back and you listen to, and I know, Tom, I sent you over one of the videos from it, but the meeting where this was first like told to the board, because the school board was basically says they were blindsided. Essentially what was going on is they kept spending money and spending money and spending money on all these additional things. And never once did anybody from the finance department say, hey, by the way, you're broke. But sure, okay, keep spending money.
Oops.
So they made their budget for the year, and then they would tack little things on. Those little things added up to be big things, and nobody from the finance department was like, you don't have this money. And some of the things they added on was DEI initiatives, was things like doing their diversity and equity reach outs. And in the meeting, they brought out how that was something they dumped tens of millions of dollars into. And even though they're in the hole now, they don't regret spending extra on that at all. So it is important to realize that their commitment to being racist as possible is part of why they have this deficit.
We've got the video. I'm going to go and play it now. So
am I correct to hear you say that you were directed to mislead the board in your narrativizing of the financial position?
No, sir. What I would say is that the working budget that was provided to you, I'll give an example. In the tentative budget for last spring, part of that was a division by division breakdown of the increases of our org charts. Very specific, every division and how much they've had org charts over the last increases over the last 3 years. Increases beyond what the trade versus gain was. That table was removed. I tried to incorporate that data.
So why was the table removed? That's pertinent information.
It was in discussions. It was not viewed as pertinent and relevant, and maybe data that would be useful for creating for throwing out allegations about JCPS more so than pertinent, relevant data.
But isn't that deception?
I would call it a judgment.
You call it
so the document presented was our document, and the decision to remove that was obviously not. If we didn't believe in having that in there, we wouldn't have had it in there to begin with. But ultimately, there are certain strategic decisions that we have to follow the district lens on.
This can be fixed. It will be fixed under Dr. Yearwood's leadership. He's inspiring. He inspires me every time I meet with him.
Sure, it inspires me too.
Here's the thing. We can't keep doing what we've always done and expect to be able to survive the way we have.
And we can't keep deleting pertinent information or information that does not present the full picture of what the board has to weigh and what the board has to decide. And so I would just request that moving forward, that the board be respected enough to receive all of the pertinent information about every decision that is placed before this board. If it needs to be embargoed, we do have a mechanism for that. But the board needs to be presented with all of the requisite information so that we can make a well-rounded decision for the good of this district.
I'm going to stop it there. So in other words, we made a judgment to hide the important information from you because in our judgment, we might be sticking our necks out when we can get criticized. It might look bad. I was just pretty much said that. I've never seen two guys squirm.
But that's exactly right. But that's exactly right, Andrew.
On a new gun. I'm going to be like, it was a judgment. It wasn't lying. It was a judgment.
That's right, a judgment. That's right.
But that's exactly the point. What you just made is we're much more concerned about looking good than being good and doing good. And this board chairman is as big of, and he was acting all righteous. He's as big of much of the problem as there is. He has been unwilling to really bring any accountability to the system. It's time for the whole board.
Did you catch what the information was? Did you catch what it was exactly?
No, unpack it.
It was the pay raises. So it was an org chart laying out what people currently make and their pay increases have been. And because they were considering an across the board pay increase for everyone. And they were worried that if they provided the board with information showing how much everybody gets paid, who, where, how often that's been increased independently, that might look bad, and then everybody wouldn't get their 4 or 5% pay increase.
But Corey Shaw has been, he knew this. He knows what's going on, and yet he's acting here like the board didn't know. And I've got a problem with that.
I agree.
I've got a problem with it.
Yeah.
They're elected to oversee this. They're elected to hold the superintendent and the system accountable, and that hasn't happened. So they share in this.
That's right.
Too.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying they're if you're not asking the question when you go to spend money, hey, do we have the money for this? Right. I think that's important. But at the same time, while he kind of knows what's been going on, I think it is clear that the financial department has not been fulfilling their role at all. Now, the clearest indication we have that people on that board did know, maybe he's faking it, maybe that one isn't, but people did know, is that nobody's been fired.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So at the end of the day,
point,
this is a very pertinent story. This is a story that our listeners and viewers should be following and should be hearing about. You're not hearing about it anywhere else except for here. And so that shows you that this is an important project. So Kentucky's Voices we're supporting, just if anything else, just to highlight the corruption at JCPS.
And let me add, it's not that there hasn't been some reporting on this, but there's not been the drilling down on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you seen the WDRB headline on this? The legacy media headline on this?
No.
This was one from just a few days ago. Okay, so this was, I think, like a week ago or so. They put out this headline that said, quoting here, let's see, the yearly audit shows JCPS finances strong and stable despite $188 million budget deficit.
That's a common sense.
That's right. In debt. They have a $188 million deficit. They're selling off assets to make payroll, and our legacy local media like WDRB puts out a headline saying it's strong and stable. Why do we need Kentucky's Voice again?
Yeah. And this is a school district that raised taxes during the pandemic. Raised taxes while schools were closed.
Shut down.
And yet they don't have the funds to operate and to educate 85, 90,000 students adequately. And they're not, and that's a whole other issue, that's not even happening. A lot of these dollars have been wasted on these DEI initiatives, on these things that have nothing to do with the kids' education.
Well, let's talk about in a second what can be done, what should be done. But before we get into that, I'm going to just go back to our pitch today, because this is Giving Tuesday. We're fundraising for Kentucky's Voice. And Bob, I'm going to bring you in on this. And how can people give? And why should they give? And before we get into what can be done with JCPS, and we're going to talk about Fayette County schools as well, because Fayette County has some issues as well. So go ahead, Bob.
Giving is our lifeblood, pure and simple. We are a faith-based, professional operation that is here to serve the interests, pure and simple, of every single Kentuckian. We are conservative, admittedly and proudly, in our outreach. But we need your help. It's that simple. Just like the blood in your body, if you don't have blood in your body that's moving through your body, you're not going to live. It's the same thing with us. We need you to step forward right now. You can do so by going and texting KY Voice at 53555. Again, KY Voice at 53555. And listen, we'll take any kind of donation, big or small. It is today Giving Tuesday. So we need you to reach deep and help us so you can hear stories like we've been talking about today. There's just so many issues right now going on, not only in our country, which we talk about that every single day, but also in our state, major issues, that affect you and affect your children. And without you stepping forward right now, we're not going to be able to continue on. It's that simple. We need you to step in. Every dime that you give is going to go towards the KY Voice Project, and please, again, step up, make a gift at KY Voice 53555.
Very good. And so, all right, let's talk, guys. Let's talk about what can be done with our education system in the state. I mean, big picture, we need school choice. We all know that. That's going to fix a lot of the problems, and so eventually, that's going to happen, regardless of how our state constitution.
And the reason
is,
is because when a district or a system knows that parents can take their students and the dollars that follow them. They care. The system cares more about the dollars.
That's right.
Than they do the students. We see that from the outcomes. So until that point is reached, there's not going to be any real motivation for the system to change.
There you go. So that's long term. That's the big picture. What needs to happen?
Right.
And in the short term, what should happen here? Well, what JCPS? What should they be doing? And
more transparency. I'm just going to add this in. There needs to be more transparency on what's being spent and what decisions are being made. These finance decisions, this should have come to the forefront a long time ago, in my view.
Yeah.
Well, and you have, the state legislature has some different options before them of things they can pass and do. I know last session they created a JCPS task force to look at some different options for them. I mean, one of the things is making sure that the legislature doesn't bail them out. I think the other thing, too, is that parents across the board have to get invested in these school board races. I mean, right now you have which is called spades. When you're talking a down ballot races, it's going to become about money to a degree, and school board election districts are massive. I mean, a JCPS school board district is larger than a state house district. I think it's larger than a state Senate district too, as well.
Its budget is more than twice the size of the entire Metro Louisville area.
That's right.
The entire budget.
And so it's massive, these districts. And whenever you have an electorate, I mean, you're talking a general election, tens of thousands of people voting in an election. Money can buy an election. When people ask me my opinion on money in elections, money can buy an election up to a point. There's a rate of diminishing return. And when you have a larger the electorate, the higher the amount would be. And so you can buy these board election seats, $100,000, $200,000 or so. You can be buying these seats. And there is a vested interest in the teachers' unions and those who make money off the school district that make money off of this situation that will be donating in to get their people involved. But the taxpayer, the parent of the student and their concerns, there's no financial interest.
That's right.
Caring about them. Therefore, whoever's running on the side of those individuals that the school district should care about, well, they're not going to be financially supported at all. And so that's really just about parents have got to get more into not just giving to places like us where we can follow these stories. Once again, text KY Voice to 53555. We're creating a media apparatus here to help spread the word on things like who to vote for in these school board elections, especially here in Louisville. So that way conservatives don't end up voting for the kinds of people that put us $188 million in a deficit and $800 million in the hole debt-wise. But also, by the way, that's not even including the billions they have in past due maintenance. I believe they have about $2 billion due in past due maintenance on current school buildings. So really, that's $2.8 billion in the hole, more than their budget in the hole. They are, plus they have a deficit. Anyways, putting that to the side. Point is by giving here, KY Voice to 53555, we can help get that word out. But that's got to be the immediate changes that parents have to be paying attention to these elections. Taxpayers got to be paying attention to school board elections, not allowing their vote to be bought by becoming an informed voter, and also by places like us helping get the word out so they know who to vote for too.
Andrew, I got to ask a quick question. It's not a popular question, and it's one that nobody wants to hear. Is then why don't they just raise taxes if they're in this kind of debt?
Well, because if you raise it beyond 4%, it becomes recallable. And they've done a lot of moves. And all you need to put this onto, the legislature changed the law recently after the last tax recall fiasco in Jefferson County. And so they changed it to make it better for the taxpayer. And so all you would need would be 5,000 good signatures, easy to get in Louisville, 5,000 good signatures to put any increase beyond 4% onto a ballot that then can be recalled. And they believe they will lose it because, to Jim's point, they really don't have the trust of the people right now. So they say, look, I want to raise taxes to get out of this. Well, they kind of can't. The only option they have is the utility tax that they currently don't have in place. They can put that in place up to the state allowable amount, but that's not going to be enough to get them out of this hole.
That's well, go ahead.
How much is enough, right? How much is ever going to be enough? I mean, that's exactly right. And
and I got to say this, that's the definition of liberalism, is to let's raise taxes to dig ourselves out of a mess that they created.
But Bob, without accountability, without change. Somebody said it earlier. Insanity is to keep doing the same things you've been doing, expect a different result, a different outcome. Right. And so we could raise taxes exponentially. Exactly right. And without any change in the education system and the approach in actually educating kids, what's going to change?
Well, and here's one of the issues.
Influx of cash during COVID.
Yeah, that's right. And
here we are. We're on the other side of COVID, and they're in the hole.
And Andrew alluded to the problem.
We can't just give them more money to get out of this.
No, and you alluded to the problem earlier. Is the teachers unions are basically supporting the school board candidates. They're putting in their candidates into the school board, and so. And then, then the school board turns around and votes on the teachers' salaries. So it is just a circular.
It's a cabal.
Yeah, it's a cabal, and so that should, first of all, that should be illegal. You shouldn't have a public union be able to give to any campaign. That's just terrible. It's just a corrupt system to begin with. But that's what's going on, folks. Is these teachers' unions are protecting padding their wallets on your tax dollars because they're putting their candidates in office to vote for them to get higher salaries.
That's right.
And then they play these games like they did in this video earlier. Oh, well, you should be showing us your increases and other stuff. And so, well, Mr. School Board member, how many increases on raises have you voted for in the past 4 or 5 years?
Right. And so when a person wants to do a grassroots campaign, as we saw in recent elections, with parents who say, I want to get involved, and they're up against the teachers unions, they're up against $500,000 contribution or $250,000 in contributions. They're up against the teachers unions, which can put up billboards for the entrenched incumbent candidates. What chance do they have? And it's discouraged people that should be running from running. And I think we need to change the model.
They're so secure. Despite this debacle, they're so secure. This was another moment from that same meeting where they're finding out about how in the hole they are. There was one moment, and this just blew my mind, where I forget which one of the school board members. He's about 40 years old, white guy. I don't know which one he is.
James
but one
Craig,
of the school board members. Who?
James Craig, probably.
I think so. Yeah. And at one point, he literally said, well, people who oversee organizations of this size are normally paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and we're doing it for $200 a month or a couple $100 a meeting. So maybe if we increased our pay, we'd be better at our job. And that was literally what he laid out.
Wow. Yeah.
In this meeting where they find out they're in the deficit, he brings up that the school board members should be paid more.
You pay me
and
more.
That if they were paid more, they wouldn't have driven them into the hole.
It's like the mafia. It's like the mafia.
Pay
it's
us
like
more to drive us further in the hole.
That's right. It's like the mafia. It's like,
look, are we bad at our job? Yeah. But if you pay us better,
it's like it's the circular argument, that you keep chasing your tail in the process, which guess what's happening in this process? The debt continues to go up. And someday you're going to have to pay the piper. And,
that's right.
And somebody, in fact, the producer shot me a comment. He said, I understand the principal argument. My concern is that we're not answering any question like somehow the debt has to be taken care of and somehow they still have to educate kids, and that supposedly is why they're there to start
and
with.
They've done neither.
Educate our kids as best as they can and do it as inexpensively as possible, supposedly, allegedly. That's a part of the process. And yet we're finding, I know the one of the texts that I got in was talking about, and it was a parent, how they know that their school is literally busting at the seams. So they're asking the question, how can you even think about be closing any schools? Because they made the very real statement that I'm sure other schools, in the district, it's the same situation is going on. This is madness. I'm just going to say, and I guess my question, and maybe to you, Andrew, and I know this has been talked about, and I know it's not an easy thing to look at or to actually implement, But when does the state step in, and say, we got to do something about this because
the state has a point that they legally step in, and that's when the reserve fund falls below 2% of the budget. Once they fall below that, the state steps in. Now, to your question, though, about, well, they got to educate kids. They have this. What do we do in the short term? How are we fixing this deficit? Well, their plan right now is to sell off assets. That's why they're talking about this school being sold off. But if you want to talk short term, we need to take a good, and this is where people don't want to hear it. Last week here on Kentucky's Voice, I was talking about teachers' pay came up, and we have a crazy system in place here in Kentucky where it doesn't matter whether an individual teaches art, teaches math, teaches reading, teaches music, is a chorus teacher, is a drama teacher. It doesn't matter what they teach. They get paid the same amount. And maybe that's why we're failing in course subjects.
Exactly.
Because it's like, who wants to be, if you're a good teacher.
I'd much rather teach art,
and
than
that's
math.
a union.
Yeah, teacher. If I'm going to get paid, I mean, the guy I called out in Fayette County, he's getting paid $90K a year to teach elementary school art. Yeah, that's a great gig.
Yeah, a few years ago,
so much better than teaching kids how to read.
A few years ago, the Bluegrass Institute suggested that the superintendent be given flexibility to pay more for teachers who were willing to go into failing schools, good teachers who had proven themselves, or for teachers who were teaching in an area like biology or physics where there weren't many teachers and more were needed. And the unions rose up and they threatened court action. They did go to court to stop this. So they don't want in. So this is not the real world, folks. If you on a job in a business, the people who are most valuable to the business get paid more, and then those who aren't. I mean, there's so many analogies.
It's a cartel. It's what it is.
So
It's
in
an
that same
education
way, though,
cartel.
As we're talking about cutting costs, I mean, there's things that the school needs to get out of. The public school system needs to get out of mental health treatment, for an example. Get out of it. Completely get out of it. It is not a realm you need to worry about. There's a cabinet for health and family services at the state level. There's local health departments and other groups that can deal with these things. The school, get out of it outside of a school nurse on site if somebody bumps their head and needs an ice pack or something like that. Outside of those, basically a person with the training of an EMT, you really don't need another medical personnel on site. And it's growth of counselors and that's causing a huge increase. That causes an administrative increase too, as well, of course. And then the other problem that honestly you run into, and this is another conversation people don't want to have, is that the sheer amount of people that don't speak English are going to these schools is also running
I was going to
up
say that.
costs.
Yeah. You fix the immigration problem, fix the illegal immigration problem, then you fix education. Because listen, I can go to some schools here in this area, like Oklahoma Elementary over here. Probably more than 50% are foreign-born, probably from illegal immigrants. And so if you just and listen, those parents are not paying education taxes in the education system. So if you just take those parents and those children, and I hate to say this, but let's just deport them. But if you deport them and get them out of the school, guess what? There's more tax dollars to go around for American kids, for American students that should be going to these schools. And so
And the liberals don't want to hear it.
They don't
but
want
it's
to
shocking you can't educate the world.
That's right.
And not end up in a budget deficit.
That's right. America is not a charity. This America is for Americans, and so and we've turned ourselves into a social program for the world.
I believe it was it Madison that said, "I struggle to find the line in the Constitution that allows us to spend our constituents' money for benevolent reasons."
That's right. That's right.
And he was talking specifically there about foreign aid or something like that. He was talking about immigrants coming into the country and getting money from the federal government. And this was early on in the country's founding. And he literally said, that is not the role of this government. We cannot take money from our taxpayers and then decide we want to spend it on these random foreign people because we just want to feel good about what
That's
we're
right.
doing.
It's just
we're
terrible.
spending taxpayer dollars on too many benevolent things across the board. And if we applied that, it would affect a whole lot of what we see happening now. But that's exactly right about the tax dollars and how they're being used. And how much do we really know about how they're being used?
Make the appeal, Jim, and so for what we're doing here.
You're not going to hear this discussion, I'm confident, anywhere else in this city today. No. You're not going to hear this discussion with this approach and this perspective. Yeah. And we want you to help ensure that we can continue to do this by texting KY Voice, KYVOICE, to this number, 53555. It's that easy. And we'd love to have your participation. Become a partner with us. When we say Kentucky's voice, this isn't just my voice. This is all of our voices collectively together. We need you to be part of that.
These great voices like Jim, like Andrew Cooper Ryder, like Bob, like Dr. Lance Pearson, like all the guests we have on. This is a really wonderful outlet for discussion and highlighting issues like this. And because, like I said, this stuff impacts your day-to-day life more than anything else out of Washington. Because like Andrew said, Washington, all they do, they're just a funnel for money, and they just funnel it back into the states. And guess what? It's the legislature, it's the schools, it's the school system, it's the mayors, it's the city councilmen. They spend the money. They're the ones that have control over where this money's spent. And so and their perspective and their policy views
and their decisions affect you more than
much more.
Yeah, than it's happening in Washington.
And when it comes to what we do, something we've done a lot is we've brought in a lot of good candidates that are running for school board.
That's right.
And so that's another thing this show does. This brings on candidates that you can vote for, learn about their perspectives and their positions, and rally support around them. We need to do that to counter to the teachers' unions, if anything else. You know, this show is needed just to fight the teachers' unions in the state. We wouldn't have King Andy, if it wasn't for the teachers' unions.
And the teachers' unions disagree with everything we're talking about here.
Everything.
Immigration reform, education reform, all of it.
All of it. We'll be right back. Good.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us, speak up, stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush, and we have a special show today. We have all the big guns on the show today. We've got Jim Waters, Bob Scott, Andrew Cooper Ryder, and myself. And
the only big gun missing
is Dr. Lance. But I tell you, we've got the full crew here today, and we're jamming on some good topics. And also this is Giving Tuesday, right? So we're encouraging all of our viewers and listeners to support this project. This is a listener-supported, viewer-supported effort, and we cannot be on the air without your help. And so we're asking you to donate either one time or become a monthly partner. There's also a QR code on the screen. If you're watching the television, you can just click on that QR code, and that'll take you to the giving link on our website. Or you can text the word KY Voice to 53555, 53555. And text the word KY Voice, and you can give $35 a month, $55 a month, $100, whatever, $5 a month. I don't care. Just support us in some way. Every dollar counts. Even a one-time gift counts. And you can go to our website as well. There's a donation link there. Go to the WGTK website. There's plenty of ways to connect with us and support it. And listen, we need you. We need you to do this, because at the end of the day, no one else is going to do this. The MAGA movement, the conservative movement, is a grassroots movement. We are grassroots. This is bottom up. We're just a local broadcasting company that happens to be locally owned, happens to be owned by some conservative Christian folks that we all stood up and said, you know what, Gray Television, all these all these newspaper companies, all these people, all the media outlets in the state are not going to represent America's or Kentuckians' perspectives on these issues, because Kentucky's a red state, so we're a conservative state. We have traditional American values, but no one's representing our perspective. And so we need to stand up and do it because, hey, we are Kentuckians. We live here. We're all born here. Every one of us here are Kentuckians. We're proud. My ancestor's Daniel Boone. Daggone it. So I go way back in this state. So,
well, I was born in Indiana. But
born in Indiana. Well, we'll forgive you. We've adopted you.
I've been here a long time.
A long time. But everybody from Indiana is from Kentucky anyway.
Right,
you all
right.
came through Kentucky anyway. So
well, you're watching this in Indiana too.
That's
so.
right. That's right. Southern Indiana. We do cover some Southern Indiana politics as well. We've had some folks on for that. So,
but
anyway, we need your
know,
support,
Tom. You know, how much has Washington really done for people in the last few years? You know, I mean, there's been a few things. Of course, Trump has brought a lot to the federal government, cleaning it out, reorganizing it.
Yeah.
But in terms of what affects you on a daily basis, it's what they do down at City Hall.
Yeah.
It's what the Metro Council does. It's what the school board does.
Yeah.
It's what the county offices do.
What the governor's doing.
And the governor. We've had the governor
locking
and the
you up
state
from going to
legislature.
church. Yeah, right.
So we're going to be, that's going to be our focus, our priority. We talk about national issues as well, but oftentimes we do it in terms of, like the immigration, we were talking about the immigration issue and what's happening at the University of the Cumberlands, and that's a Kentucky perspective on this.
That's right.
Something is unique, you're not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah, and Campbellsville.
Not from a conservative.
And Campbellsville University. You know, I was just thinking the other day when I read this article about University of Cumberland and also Campbellsville University. You know, Campbellsville has this extension campus there in Hurstbourne here in Louisville. Well, guess where the center of all things Indian in America and Louisville is? It's in the Hurstbourne area right there. All the Indians in Louisville live in Hurstbourne. So I don't know. I just put those. Maybe Campbellsville University's extension campus is right in the heart of Little India in America or in Louisville. I don't know. Maybe there's a connection there, but there's a lot of corruption going on. We're highlighting it, and so we need your support to help keep highlighting these issues. And Andrew, let's talk about another topic that we've covered on the show where we've helped move the needle on an issue in this state it's made a difference. And so, what are some of the topics you've covered, some stories you've been on that you feel like this show has really helped change the results, made an impact?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, with the Fayette County Public Schools thing, the activism work I did on that, and part of that is because, you know, obviously I do shows for this program. So in that prep work, I discover things, I make posts and things like that. The combined amount of reach that those posts on Fayette County Public School financial issues was millions. And directly due to that, I mean, it was to a point where the schools putting out press releases just to argue against my social media posts. And it really brought to the forefront their mismanagement of the funds that fully killed that. They were attempting to raise taxes, essentially $40 million. And that effort was killed in its infancy just based upon the kind of activism and work we're doing here. And so, you know, that's a fantastic example of just some things. And there's things too as well that just through activism and getting the word out, you're able to kill. There's at one point, this was a few years ago, they wanted every single public high school student to fill out a FAFSA form. Well, that requires information from parents that otherwise is protected under the Fourth Amendment. You to disclose assets and monetary positions and everything you own to the federal government because Kentucky wanted to require that for your child to be able to graduate from public school. That past committee that had passed the House before the prior year, we were able to kill that before it even got to the floor of the House. You know, those are examples of places where the kind of outreach we're doing can really
let me add to what you're saying, because obviously we are highlighting these stories, but it's not just us doing it. It's us highlighting it, but you, the listener, being active, becoming activist yourself, and making those phone calls, calling the legislatures, calling those school boards, and letting them know that, hey, I'm paying attention. I'm learning about what you're doing. And so it's not just us here, you know, blowing the trumpet. That it doesn't mean a thing if viewers aren't engaged and actually taking this.
It's obvious the viewers are engaged too, because we wouldn't be having on the people that we have on where we have legislators. I don't know about you all, but I got legislators reaching out to me constantly trying to get on the show. I've got people reaching out to me constantly trying to get on the show. And that is because listeners are calling up their representatives saying, hey, I heard this on Kentucky's Voice, or I heard this from Tom, or I heard this from Bob, or I heard it from Jim or Andrew or Lance, and I want to know what's the truth here, what's going on, and they feel a need like, oh, I gotta get out there and make sure I get out information too, and that is a direct result of the work we're doing here.
Exactly. You know, Bob, freedom and democracy in a republic like that we have doesn't work except for a good news media, a news media that actually shines a light on the issues, and so people really know what's going on in the government. And the problem we've had in this country up to this point is the news media has been so left-wing on all levels, from national to local. They basically just ignore the issues that are really important. And like Jim said earlier, it's not just there's bias in the stories. It's just the stories they even choose to cover. You know, like a lot of the things we talk about, the other folks just don't even care about. They don't see it as an issue. They say, oh, that's just normal. It's normal that should happen. Well,
you know what, Tom? I owned a newspaper, small weekly newspaper 30 years ago. And I saw the coming of the internet and decided to divest myself of that. Little did I know how powerful and how big the internet would become, you know. Yeah. And for the most part, I think it's been a good thing. Instead of having the corporate legacy media feeding us their narrative on a daily basis, we now have the opportunity to come in, and there's other voices, you know, many voices that are out there, but there is no other Kentucky's Voice that's specifically serving the people of our state. That's where our primary focus is. And of course, Southern Indiana, we touch over there. We don't want to forget about you folks over there. We love you and appreciate you. But we are specifically serving the needs of our viewers and listeners, you know. So I'm going to, again, make another pitch. That's the main reason we're doing this 2-hour special today. We need you, you know, to step forward and make a gift. You know, that's all we're asking. Make a gift. Any amount is great. The bigger, the better, of course. You can do so by texting at KY Voice. Again, KY Voice 53555. Again, KY Voice 53555. Your gift, believe it or not, no matter how big or how small, makes a huge difference. So again, please join us, you know, join hands with us. You know, let's stand together. You know, our state motto is united we stand, divided we fall. We need to be standing together for a time such as this, because we are in the most critical phase that our nation has probably ever seen itself in, especially over the next, I'll just say the next year, you know, with the coming elections that will be coming up in 26. It is now important that the truth gets out, and we know, as the Bible says, the truth, you know the truth, and it shall set you free. Obviously, the good news of Jesus is the most important thing. But also, you know, standing upon truth and reporting. And I believe people are smart enough, once you present that to them, that they will see it and act upon it.
Yeah, and don't think that just because we've got Trump in office, we have a Republican House and Senate nationally, we have a Republican House and Senate here in the state, that everything's done. I can just check out. No. And if anything, we have to hold these people that are in office that do reflect our values accountable, because what happens very often, we've seen this here in the state, is sometimes when you have power, you can get fat and happy. It's like, I don't want to shake anything. I don't want to really push and do things controversial because I might lose my seat. I might, you know, and so we have to take these conservative politicians that have been elected by us and make sure they do push the agenda that we want. Republicans are notorious for getting into office and sitting on their hands and letting the left dominate the narrative. And so we're not going to let them do that with this program.
Well, you're stepping on some toes there, Tom, but that's 100%. 100%. And I know for sure Andrew's seen it, Jim's seen it. I've been up on, you know, the state legislature talking to them, and so too often do they acquiesce to the middle.
That's right.
You know, and even you could make an argument to left-leaning viewpoints, because they're getting hit on by the left just as much, and especially
Yeah, and there's nobody to the right, waving the flag and saying, "Hey, remember us? We put you in office. You better respect our position here." And,
You can take some basic conservative, one thing that Trump did nationally, I saw no pushback from Republicans across the board on this, was work requirements for people receiving welfare benefits, Medicaid benefits. If you're have kids older than, I believe it was 16, and you're below, 55. Basically, if you're able-bodied, not disabled, and you don't have young kids, you need to get to work if you're going to receive these welfare benefits or food stamps or Medicaid. And you saw that requirement put in. The left freaked out. The right defended it. That same exact issue we tried to pass at the state level for the past several years with this 80% Republican majority legislature, and we couldn't get work requirement for welfare done at the state level. And yet, when it was proposed by Trump at the national level, we didn't hear a single Republican have issue with it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, there's so many issues like that. For example, there's still one Democrat House seat in the state here in Louisville that if we could redistrict in the state, we could pick up another seat in the House. I don't see maybe one or two legislatures pushing that. Why aren't we doing that? Because this next term, this next election cycle, it's possible we could lose the House. And if we lost about one seat, I will blame the Republican leadership in this state for not redistricting, because they have an opportunity for us to pick up another national House seat, and we should do that because all these left-wing or liberal Democrat states have already gerrymandered their districts to where their Republicans of their states have no voice, and so we have to do that to defend ourselves. Something else we're doing, guys, is something to look forward to in this project. We're actually going to hold a debate with the people that are going to run for Mitch McConnell's seat. So we're going to have a Republican Senate debate here in May. We're organizing that now. We're about to make the appeal to all the candidates. And so we're beyond just covering issues. We're going to bring these candidates together and then hold them accountable to your perspective, to the people that are supporting this program. We're going to take your questions, your perspective, and ask Andy Barr. We're going to ask Cameron. We're going to ask all these guys that are running for Mitch McConnell's seat. Where do you stand on this issue? What are you going to do are you going to be another Mitch McConnell, a rhino, where you just fight against the MAGA agenda when you're in there, or are you going to really support Kentuckians' viewpoints on these things? So if we don't do this, no one will, folks. And so you've got to stand up and help us. So,
I want to go back to what you're talking about, how conservatives really are bad about, like, oh, well, we got Trump in there. We got
checking out
this in. So, everything's taken care of.
And they go back to their life. And you can't blame Republicans because they have lives, right? They want to go back to their normal life.
But that's why Kentucky's voice is needed.
That's
because
right.
we're watching these issues, and what Andrew was talking about with Fayette County and the school systems and the local government and the state government, what's happening as you're talking about redistricting. The left is much better about this. The left doesn't do this. When they get in office, they double down a lot of times on their leftist agenda.
They know how to use power.
They tried to gerrymander Andy Barr's district so that would be Democrat, and of course the Republicans have held on to that. Yeah. So that, to your example, but it goes back to people being engaged, and I do think it's fair to say our conservative politicians need to make the right decisions, but they also need to know that there are people, lots of conservatives, not only supporting them, but watching what they're doing, paying attention to what they're doing. It's just human nature. When somebody's watching what you're doing, it makes a difference.
It really, really does. So, so that's why we need your support, and so that's why we're here today. This is Giving Tuesday. We have a special program today where we're fundraising for Kentucky's Voice. This is a listener-supported, viewer-supported project, and we need your support. And where every dollar goes to the production of this content, of this programming that gets out to the entire state. And so here's how to do it. Several ways to do it. Text the words KY Voice, so the letter KY and then Voice, to this number, 53555. 53555. Text KY Voice to 53555. That'll ping back a a text where you can then click on a link and go to our giving page, or you can go to the QR code on the screen, click on that, or you can go to our website. There's many ways to engage with us. Also, we want to hear your voice too. We've got only 4 minutes left, but every day we take your text. And so if you want to text us and give us a comment, we're open to that. 502-571-0970, 571-0970. Love to hear your thoughts and comments. And so guys, there's a lot we're going to be focusing on over the next few months here. The immigration issue has been a hot issue. Also, I'm really concerned about just the left coalescing and doing a color revolution. Let's face it, guys, the left is really unhinged. They're violent, and there's a lot of folks that are trying to take the country and kind of do basically a cultural revolution and almost a physical revolution to get power back. And so we've been covering that a lot. A lot of my shows have been focused on this coming color revolution. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a technique of getting power, political power, by overthrowing a government legitimately. And we saw that in the 2020 election. That was basically a color revolution technique to steal the vote. And so we're going to be covering that issue. Jim, and we only have 3 minutes left. Let's go each one of you. What are the issues you're going to be covering over the next few weeks?
Of course, the
here?
legislature will be in a budget session, and it's like I think Mark Twain said, hold on to your wallet whenever the politicians get together.
Exactly. That's coming up very soon.
So,
this year.
Let's hope that they continue to make the budget reserve trust fund, our savings fund, essentially as a state, strong, keep that very strong.
Yep.
Continue to lower income taxes, because income taxes punish productivity, they punish increase. We want Kentuckians to prosper. We don't want to discourage that. We want to encourage that. So I think spending, tax policy, education policy, some of the things we've talked about already on here, I think are going to be really important. And then we need people to get engaged. You need to be engaged. If you're not, you need to be. And this program will help you. We'll give you the ammunition you need, the intellectual ammunition, to talk to your legislator.
Yeah, and the resources of who to call. So,
Right.
Andrew, what are you going to be covering over the next few weeks?
Let's see. I'm going to interview, not on here, but on my other show, and then I'll bring that information back, a hemp expert to talk about how this continuing resolution affects the hemp industry here in Kentucky. Bashir's refusing to turn over our food stamp information to the federal government. So we'll see what we can see there fraud-wise. Obviously, coming up on a budget session too as well. There's a recent dust-up in the legislature budget committee between the Bashir administration and the budget committee. So that'll be worth looking at, what the possible fallout from that might be.
Yeah. Well, and Bob, we cannot let Andy Bashir become president, because that's where this is going. The National Democratic Party sees Bashir as the new Bill Clinton, this moderate Midwestern, Democrat governor that can win in a red state, and so he's the great white hope for the Democrats. Let's just face it, and no one else is showing his dark side better than us, and so we're going to be focused on Bashir as he runs for president here. So. Bob, what are you going to do?
No, you're absolutely right, Tom. I know we're just about out of time on the show, but everything that you just said, the Islamification of America, or the attempted Islamification of America, is huge right now. Obviously, the Chinese threat that's now going on. These are some of the things we're going to be looking on, besides all the other local things that we've talked about here. We have a lot on our plate, and we need every single person to help out.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and make the pitch one more time here. So support Kentucky's voice. Your dollars will go much further here than any politician, any conservative organization. We fly air cover for all of them. We're a force multiplier. So text KY Voice to 53555. KY Voice to 53555. Do it today.
Giving Tuesday.
Or go to our website. Thanks for watching today. Have a great holiday.